doing the same with the pandemic preparedness and the compliance with the Fair Labor Standard Act. There are no substantive changes, we're simply renumbering. So these have been through committee, they've been on the board agenda for first reading.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions on those? Okay, hearing none, could you take the roll?
Collins.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sullivan. Coyle.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Austriaco.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion on item 9, which is the 2018 tax levy?
I move that, number 1, that the Board of Education adopts the resolution providing for the levy of taxes by the Board of Education for 2018 in the amount of $121,254,335. 2, that the Board of Education certifies the tax for special education programs and purposes. And 3, that the Board of Education certifies the inapplicability of the Truth in Taxation Act.
Second, thank you. Mary?
As indicated in the public hearing, we've complied with the truth in taxation by publishing the levy in the newspaper, providing a public hearing. The levy, if it is approved tonight, will be filed by the last Tuesday in December. It represents a 3.16% increase over last year's and is based on a CPI of 2.1%.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Jenny, would you take the roll?
Bessler.
Aye.
Coyle.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Austriaco.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
And Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion on item 10A, Tyler Lane Construction, this is for the change order for school cafeterias? I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so this change order is the result of 17 changes. So instead of doing some allowance reductions, which the board doesn't have to approve, we kind of consolidate everything and are doing one change order in the amount of $49,125.51. This represents a 2% increase to the contract amount overall. As we indicated at Buildings and Grounds, overall for summer projects, we are under budget. But this then takes a look and shows you the 17 items included in the change order amount. So the first thing you do is go through your allowance reduction because we were carrying a $50,000 allowance. So the first 50, just bring that number down, and then where you start to see the remaining number column go negative is what the amounts that represent the change order.
Questions or comments on
Just a
this?
quick question, so this new change of order for $2.2 million, the $49,000 increase is only 17 different changes of work requirements, correct?
Correct.
What will be the from the $49,000, from the 17 change item, what will be considered as the biggest change or something noticeable?
The biggest items had to do with the sewer line that goes from the concession stand. If you recall, the sewer line, we scoped it and we had to line it because it was, the internal integrity was that. So we had the lining of the sewer line, we had the scoping of the sewer line, we had the erosion control associated with doing all of that work. So you'll see the excavate, the first AR 1, 2, and 3 have to do with the sewer lines, and you can see that is the majority. That's about $50,000 or half of all of the changes. Then we had other smaller changes. Many of these changes we've negotiated down because we felt that we only were responsible for a portion of the original cost of the change. That is true on the erosion control and the dishwasher power. But these are changes that came up during the construction process and were either unforeseen circumstances or things that we wanted in addition.
Well noted. And when are we expect to have the timeline? We should be expected the school cafeteria project should be
The
completed?
cafeterias reach substantial completion before the beginning of the school year. So we have simply been negotiating these change orders for the past several months. So if you recall at Buildings and Grounds, we've put change orders on there a number of times, and we've said until we you know, we kind of said it's a package deal, so we're not gonna individually negotiate 17. We're gonna work on them all together and present one package.
Have these all been, everything here's been completed?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, if there's no one else, would you take the roll, please, Ginny?
Austriaco?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye.
Sullivan? Coyle? And Owen.
Aye. I have a motion on item 10B. This is for commencement ceremonies at the Rosemont Theaters for all three schools.
Second.
Mary, this is the,
4 years ago, we consolidated all three of our graduation ceremonies to be on one day. This allowed us to save about $12,000 because there wasn't 3 different setups. So in your board packet is the contract with Rosemont Theater for the three graduation ceremonies. I should point out that this is the first increase we've seen in 3 years. They've increased the contract from $63,000 to $65,000. The only change we always make is the video recording, because generally their performances are not recorded, and that's what the contract says, but we cross that out so that the parents can record graduation for their child. So I'll entertain any questions anybody has on the contract. This is the same contract that we've had for 4 years.
I know I have attended every single year about the graduation. It's very successful, and the students really enjoyed it. Especially past few years, we did have like a rainy days and so on, so you definitely avoided having an inside the graduation. How is the communities, the parents feedbacks regarding having graduation inside instead of individual schools?
I would defer to your principal, but as you pointed out, the issue with holding a graduation in addition to sound issues outside is the weather. So we don't save a lot. I mean, we're about cost neutral when we move into Rosemont because we have to rent chairs and everything. We have to pay for custodial overtime to set up those chairs and the whole thing, but I've not heard any parents complain.
Wood's been long enough for South and East. Very few people have any memory of it being out on the stadium field. And again, at West, if anybody was in the downpours the last 2 or 3 years they did it, you know, it just takes all the guesswork out. It's comfortable, you've got air conditioning, there's no problem for handicapped access. You can hear, you can see. I mean, they could not possibly do a better job of taking care of us on that afternoon. They really, they are first class in terms of the way they go about it.
The ticket issuance to their parents and members, since we are doing an inside so-called limited access, are we have no issues or concern regarding inviting less
Nothing for
parents?
East to South, I think.
No, as far as tickets, once the kids get issued their tickets, and parents, we kind of wait till everybody has their tickets, and then we easily accommodate those and ask for extra tickets.
So we are always maximize and we have no problem. That's good to know. Thank you.
So, a little bit off topic, I attended last year and I thought it was great, and I don't have a problem with a little bit of increase. But I did read that they're tearing down the theater.
So that is why we were a little, we want to secure this year's date. We've not, we heard the same thing and read the same thing in the paper, but Rosemont has not, it's not going to occur before May, because this contract binds us for graduation, and as soon as this graduation's over, we've given them the dates for 20, they just haven't given us the contract for 20.
Okay.
Because we always plan 2 years out with them, so that they hold our date all the time, so that they're not booking anything else in the theater on that day.
Are they gonna replace it?
No, I read probably the same, that they're not, they probably will at some point, but they're expanding the outlet mall.
Right, so we had preliminary discussions, and if and when that happens, we know we would have to find another location. And we've got several that we would investigate with Rosemont, hoping to keep it closer rather than going, if you recall, a number of years ago, we looked at moving it potentially to the Sears Center, which is quite a hike.
It's a little bit of a hike.
So we're aware of that possibility, and we're gonna cross that bridge once they decide to close the theater.
Well, we'll get this executed right away then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, there's no other questions? Ginny, would you take the roll?
Sullivan. Lee.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Austriaco. Bessler. Coyle.
Aye.
Owen.
Hi. Can I have a motion on items 11A and B? These are two new club proposals.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, one is English language learning and exchange at Maine East. One is the National English Honor Society at Maine West.
The language learning and exchange is essentially, think of like a conversational language class, except it's led by students for students. So we've got, the vast majority of our kids speak at least 2 languages at Maine East. So it's really taking students who are bringing their first language or their home language in and teaching their peers, and then there's some plans for some, not field trips that take place during the day, but some cultural outings on the weekends and evenings. Since we live in Chicago, we can kind of take advantage of that. So I mean, it really is, I think, ultimately what we strive for is, you've got students that are teaching each other without much assistance from the adults, which is really why we're here. So,
We have a lot of languages spoken at
Yes.
Maine East, so it could be a lot of different.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. And Maria, National English Honor Society, is there anything?
Yeah, well, so their first induction was this fall. They had about 100 students, and so they've been operating without the kind of official board approval that they've been able to do. But now, because there will be some fundraising activities they would like to do, there will be volunteer service kinds of opportunities and that sort of thing. I talked with Mr. Allworth, and he said, what do you think? Just go ahead and
Be
prepare a
official.
proposal and such, make it official. And I
Have
said,
their bylaws and all
Sure.
that.
I said, sure.
Okay, any questions or comments on those? All right, Ginny?
Collins.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sullivan. Coyle.
Aye.
Bessler. Austriaco.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Can I have a motion on items 12A and B?
Second.
Okay. Sean?
Yes, these are two intergovernmental agreements that are part of new state code, school code. One of the things that Dr. Wallace has been working on is some dual credit legislation. As part of that legislation is that community colleges and universities have official agreements with their cooperating partners at the high school level. And so what you have are 2 intergovernmental agreements, one for Oakton and one for Eastern Illinois University. We currently do not have a dual credit course being taught with Eastern, but we're currently in talks, and this is part of that development of that relationship. And as you know, we have several dual credit classes that we teach with Oakton.
And are I think the agreements are, well, they're not really the same.
So the state has left it up to the university and colleges to come up with what their agreement would be. Substantially, they are the same, and they're fairly similar. There are a little bit of Eastern. Probably the most unique thing is they're just asking for access to our students, and so the ability to advertise on campus, which is really no different than they currently do from the standpoint that we're always looking to have colleges on campus, meet with our kids, advertise what they can do for our students. So we wouldn't really be doing too much more. Eastern, we are going to help to facilitate a visit to that campus, which is just something we've been looking to do and wouldn't be limited to Eastern either.
Does anyone have any comments or questions on these intergovernmental agreements?
So with the Eastern Illinois, this will be our first time dealing with them, right?
That is correct. That is
And of
correct.
course, Oakland Community College, we've been doing it for numerous years, has been. And has it been always as successful as we says, the students, are we delightfully working with the intergovernmental agreement and such?
Yes, and I think we have good working relationships with both universities. Eastern is new. I'll be bringing some things forward in the future that are dual credit opportunities for our students with Eastern. We're in those conversations right now.
So distance-wise, we don't really have to worry about it, right?
No, actually, our teachers who have the right credentials become adjunct professors, so distance is not an issue. And Eastern actually is very interested in having their teachers come up and observe our classes, and would like to invite our teachers down to Eastern to observe their classes. So it should be a pretty beneficial relationship for both parties.
So, Sean, do you have a strategy for looking at like Western and Southern and that? Or was Eastern the first one that approached us, or?
So we are looking to increase our portfolio of colleges and universities that we work with. So right now, the most aggressive have been Eastern and Oakton that we've been dealing with. And we're really just looking to fill gaps. So where Eastern may have opportunities that Oakton does not have for our students. So anytime we're repeating something, we try and stay away from that. But anytime there's a new opportunity, we're absolutely going to look at that.
We also from time to time have to, the gap Sean's filling, like we have a relationship with Triton for autos because Oakton doesn't have that program. So when we don't have that next level path, we go out and try to find one for our students.
Do we have an intergovernmental agreement with Triton?
I've reached out to our other partners.
Okay.
So, I'm not exactly clear on this concept. Do the students take the classes at the high school?
Yes.
Or at the college?
They take
At
the
high school.
course
During the day?
during the day.
During their school day?
Yeah, so for example, a most recent edition that you saw on Friday Notes was that our Introduction to Engineering and Design, which is a course we currently teach, that curriculum aligns with an Oakton curriculum. And so we were able to make that a dual credit course taught by our teachers who had the right credentials. And so now a student who takes IED has the opportunity to earn 3 Oakton credits as a result of that. So we don't have students going the other, I mean, we have some students of their own volition going the other way, taking some time in the evenings to go to Oakton or other opportunities, but we haven't been facilitating those the way we facilitated the during the day opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Well, one more quick question related to how about the possibility of doing with a so-called well-known universities like UIUC, Northwestern, Chicago universities, DePaul University, and so on, having an intergovernmental relationship with such? Any?
So we have looked into those. I will tell you there are significant price differences when we talk about the ability to offer an Oakton course for a $25 application fee, an EIU course for a $90 fee. I was approached by Loyola, and that cost was over $200 per student for the course. So there's a significant financial investment that a student has to make. For in some cases, if it's an IAI course, which means it's transferable within the state of Illinois, to get a credit for substantially more money, in essence, in a lot of ways, paying for a name, perhaps. So we're looking for the most economical ways to provide support for our students. But we have not closed the door on those relationships, though, either.
I just want to make sure I understand. I mean, I think what we're looking at in our materials here says that the information in this attachment outlines parameters of the dual credit agreement. So is this actually?
That is the attachment, yes. So those dual credit relationships are the attachment.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Ginny, would you take the roll?
Lee,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Sullivan, Bessler, Owen.
Aye. Okay, calendar items. There's a lot going on December 17th. For those of you who can attend, there's Buildings and Grounds, Finance, and Education on that evening. Next regular meeting of the board is January 7th. I don't think we have anything else to add there. Are there any other communications or public comments? Okay, if there aren't any, could I have a motion to go into closed session for purposes of review of closed session minutes and appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees?
Second.
Thank you. Ginny, would you take the roll?
Austriaco,
Aye.
Bessler, Collins, Coyle,
Aye.
Lee, Sullivan, Owen.
Aye. Okay. Closed session.